Okay, this video is going over the main steps in endochondrial ossification. And I'm using a figure from the ninth edition of Human Anatomy and Physiology by Merib and Home, which is published by Pearson. Okay, so in this figure outlines the main steps, and we've got kind of a word bank over here of the different labels that are happening. I'm going to outline again the main steps that happen, main things that happen in the different steps. Okay, the first is what we have is a hyaline cartilage that resembles the bone. Okay, so your skeleton first, when you're developing as a fetus, first is all made of cartilage. Okay, and then from there you have ossification happening. And the first part that ossifies is the bony collar, okay, around the outside of the middle of the bone. Okay, and as the cartilage grows, the different ossification centers happen as well. So the cartilage in the second step, so the first step, the main thing is the bone collar, is formed over the hyaline cartilage precursor to the bone. Okay, the second step is the cartilage in the middle calcifies, and it starts to erode, forming cavities within your cartilaginous scaffold. Okay, but this is not the medullary cavity. This is just cavities being formed by the calcifying cartilage. Okay, the medullary cavity is formed later. Okay, once you have cavities, that gives space for blood vessels to then go into the center of the bone. Okay, and that's what's called the periosteal bud. Periosteal bud brings blood, so you then have a source of nutrients to feed the osteoblasts so they can start secreting bone matrix. Okay, so the periosteal bud is formed, and you start getting bone in the center of the center of your forming bone. Okay, and the next step, that creates the medullary cavity. Okay, so the periosteal bud makes this cavity, and where you have now thick, compact bone surrounding the bone, or on the inside of the bone collar that was formed in the first step, as well as you have secondary periosteal buds being going into the epiphyses, or the ends of the cartilage, to make the secondary ossification centers. So if it has two ends, has two epiphyses on the bone, then you have two secondary ossification centers. Okay, and then the last step, the epiphyses are fully formed, and you have your epiphyseal plate cartilage. Okay, so the cartilage for the epiphyseal plate is now the only area where you have bone growth continuing. Okay, and that'll continue until adulthood, and then the epiphyseal plate will be completely replaced by bone. Okay, so our main steps then, in step one, we have our bone collar forming. In step two, you have cartilage calcifying and eroding. Okay, these don't exactly fit, but that's where I'm going to put them. Step three is the periosteal bud forming. Step 4, you have the medullary cavity and secondary ossification centers. And then our last step, we have the epiphyses fully forming and the epiphyseal plate. Okay, step 1, bone collar. Step 2, cartilage calcifies and erodes, creating cavities. Step 3, periosteal bud forms and brings nutrients for the osteoblasts to start secreting bone matrix. Step 3, we have a medullary cavity in the diaphysis, and secondary ossification centers start to form, where secondary periosteal buds are innervating the cartilage. And the last step, you have your epiphyseal plate and the epiphyses fully ossified.